Huh? How about this hat? Look at that thing, huh? Look how beautiful that hat is. Welcome into another edition of pucksports.com. Wherever you're watching or listening, thank you so much for making the choice to tune us in today. The Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. We drop it every day, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at pucksports.com. You can watch it there. We'll send you to a link to YouTube. I heard everybody on the YouTube thing. I got rid of the kid mark. All right, not appropriate for kids or whatever. So now you can leave comments. So please leave comments there on YouTube. I appreciate it. The feedback. Thank you so much. If you're listening, I appreciate that as well, whether you're on the website at pucksports.com or on Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I need all the comments in the world, okay? We need to use these later for people, but I appreciate all. I hope everybody is enjoying it. We're putting up a lot of content up there every single day, and we're trying to provide you kind of with the best stuff that I can possibly do, especially here with this daily puck drop, the DPD, every day at 10 a.m., to kind of keep this going, rocking of all the things that happened last night in the world of sports, and then looking ahead to today. Eventually, we'll take the daily puck drop live, and we'll do this live every day at 10 a.m. We'll do a little bit different show today. Wednesdays always includes a visit with Ryan Divish. We got a brand new sponsor for the Human Pony Keg, and it's going to be just perfect for him. Also, Brad Adam, Root Sports, will join us later today. I'll post those coming up later this afternoon, all brought to you by John Howie Steak. Now, both of those, usually we would record those and probably have them dropped around noon or 1 o'clock, but they're playing a day game today. So we're going to drop both of those after they finish up. Hopefully it doesn't go long. We've got a little tight window once that game is over, and then once I got a bolt to go coach a little league baseball as Fisher Plumbing, still winless on the season. Ballard Little League. Might get to the point where Fisher Plumbing decides just to pull sponsorship. We don't know. Also, we will debut, I think tomorrow, I should have it, the special golden plunger that we will now be using to celebrate home runs and good hits and whatever else we can come up with. Instead of the trident, we have the golden plunger. I think I'll have that in my possession maybe tonight, and we can show it to you tomorrow on the daily puck drop, the DPD. So Brad Adam, Ryan Divish, those will drop later this evening to get a recap on that Cleveland series and just kind of look ahead to the road trip. All right, M's lose to the Guardians last night. Castillo, God, first few innings looked unbelievable. I mean, he struck out 6 of the first 11 batters, and through the first 3 innings, you thought Luis Castillo is going to mow everybody down. He looked great. Then what happened? Well, we got to the 4th inning, and they have 2 outs. He has an 0-2 count. He's got Ramirez on first base. He's got Will Brennan up there at bat. Brennan hits a hard shot there to right field. Mitch Haniger, usually a pretty good defensive player, comes up, and you guys kind of all know the rest of that. Plays it, misplays the bounce. It allows Ramirez to score all the way there from first base. And great job by Ramirez, too. He's hustling, running his ass off. So instead of runners at the corners with 2 outs, you don't have that. You got Ramirez that already scored. Brennan gets to second. And then, 2-3 pitches later, Naylor crushes a fastball again off Castillo, has been giving up too many home runs to right field for a 2-run home run that makes it 3-0. The Adventures defensively, which they have been poor the beginning of the season. They just have been. This is now kind of a carryover from last year in which they were not playing clean baseball, especially at the beginning of the season, but really for the entire season. 5th inning, Josh Rojas playing at third base, makes a terrible throw on the Stephen Kwan bunt, allowing another run to score. God, as someone who manages the Fisher Plumbing Little League, and we try to bunt all the time, I really do appreciate Cleveland that they drop down a lot of bunts. and then they try to play that way. It's an old school way to play baseball. I think it's a lost art form, really, at all levels of baseball. In fact, we were talking to some other coaches in our little league, and they're going, we don't even practice that stuff. And I'm like, why wouldn't you practice it? I mean, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be a part of this game. Rojas just makes a terrible play. We'll get to him later in the well, we can just do it now. In the next inning, in the 6th inning, what the hell was he doing on that shallow pop-up to the left? What kind of angle was that? What was he doing? It was terrible. It's just, God, I miss Suarez. Who does it? Raise your hand if you miss Eugenio Suarez, because I do. I miss him defensively. I miss him offensively already. So Rojas made two bad plays, 2 errors on the night. Castillo not sharp after the 3rd. And then once again, the offense just non-existent. The offense had nothing going against Shane Bieber. I know, right? Tip your cap, chalk it up. It's Shane Bieber. He's great and all that. But total, they had 12. They struck out 12 times and they walked twice. Stop me if you haven't heard that one before. I mean, that's a rinse and repeat from last year. Can't put the ball in play, terrible at bats, all of it. Offensively, the numbers early on in the season, I know it's early, but we are only going off the numbers that we have in front of us, okay? And these all can improve, by the way. They all can get better, and they can improve it fast. And the month into the season, they can wash it all away. But we can just look at what they're doing right now. And the reason that many of us are concerned or pessimistic to a degree is that this is a carryover from last year. And we thought this was going to be addressed in the offseason. And so far, it just hasn't. But again, you do always have to remind yourself, even though I don't like hearing it, I don't like saying it, that it still is early. We still have time to turn it around. They still have time to turn around. But offense as a whole right now, 25th in batting average, 28th in on-base percentage, 28th in OPS. They are dead last in strikeout percentage. Don't worry about the total strikeouts because they don't. They care about the K percentage. 31.4% of the time they are striking out. Dead last in baseball. And that was the thing that they talked all offseason about improving. And so far, they haven't been able to improve that. And then you get on the flip side, and this just feels like maybe this happens to every other fan base, but it just feels like it happens to these guys all the time. God, when the guys go elsewhere, they immediately have success. Now, Eugenio Suarez has always had success. I mean, he's been a successful player for a long time. And yes, it's still early for him. But if you're a Diamondbacks fan, you're going, well, hell, the early return on Suarez is great. Good defense. He's hitting 333. He's slugging 476. He's striking out at 20%. He's good. I mean, every time you flip on like quick pitch, he's got another hit. Having fun out there, bringing a good vibe to the team. You know, the thing is, we're going to miss him offensively. But I think the biggest area that none of us thought was a reality is how much we're going to miss him defensively. And so far, I think what we've seen the play over there at third base, we're going to miss him a lot this year. And don't look now, but has anybody checked out the stats there for the old Atlanta Braves and our good friend, Mr. Water Cooler Kicker himself, Jared Kelenic, huh? Have you checked out that? I know it's 5 games. Okay, I get it. And in the next 5 games, he may never have a hit. And he did this last year. We had that unbelievable stretch. Remember in Chicago and that however long that was, and he was unbelievable. And we thought, oh my God, he's going to turn it around. This is the player we've all been expecting. Okay, so I get all that. But it was a guy that you just gave away, by the way. You gave him away. There was no reason they needed to trade him. There was no reason they needed to get rid of him. There was nothing. He was young, still has potential. I feel like he's well liked by his teammates. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe the manager didn't like him. Maybe the front office didn't like him and all that. But in 5 games, he's batting .545. He's slugging .636. and he's striking out 15% of the time. And by the way, I don't know if it wasn't yesterday or two days ago, he makes an unbelievable diving catch in left field wearing the number 24. I mean, just bring him back for his defense, for crying out loud. But offensively, when you go to a lineup where you're batting way down and has a history of success and you've got so many good players around you, somebody like that is probably, and at least the early returns are going to strive in a system like that. But the Mariners will wrap it up later today. They finish off their series against Cleveland, trying to get the series win. But boy, they need to play cleaner baseball. They just have to do it, and it has been poor. Just base running mistakes, defensive mistakes, just not an overall clean brand of baseball. And I do think, because we have seen this the last several years, especially out of the gate, this is a reflection on the coaching staff. And this is a reflection on Scott Service and everybody else that is underneath him, because they just routinely get off to these subpar starts and subpar play. I mean, there's different players. They keep changing the players. What they haven't changed is the methodology from perhaps the manager and what he's preaching. I don't know, but whatever he's trying to do differently is not working. And one quick thing, and I don't know, and I think many people have probably dismissed this. There's probably a little bit of a factor to it. But I think I heard on the TV they were talking about it. Was the other night. We need to stop. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear anything more about the weather, about how the weather is affecting these guys, about how the weather is the reason they get off to slow starts. First pitch last night, it was 63 degrees. It was wonderful. It was a beautiful day. The weather had nothing to do why they lost yesterday. You know what the temperature was in Philadelphia yesterday as they scored 9 runs and Bryce Harper knocked in 3 home runs? And I know it's more of a hitter's park anyways. It was 46 degrees and raining. It was miserable. They're all bundled up. It was awful. You know what the temperature was in Chicago as the Cubs dropped in 12 and Cody Bellinger hit the biggest moonshot home run to right field? It was 42 degrees. They looked like they were bundled up going to Antarctica. And, there's got winds blowing everywhere. But that didn't stop them from scoring runs. They did, whether it's a mentality with them as an organization or the players, they need to get it out of their head, because weather is crappy everywhere right now. And I feel like we're like the only, I'm not saying the fan base were doing this, but it's like we're the only team that is like using weather as the reason why they can't play well. The weather, that has nothing to do with it. It doesn't affect other teams as much as it affects this team. Dallas Keuchel ends up signing a minor league deal. He's going to report to AAA Tacoma like it. They need a veteran pitcher. You never know what's going to happen with Brian Wu. And, of course, you need some depth there with Emerson Hancock and all of that. If you missed yesterday's show, we debuted the John Canzano show. You can follow John there on Twitter at John Canzano BFT. Read his work at johncanzano.com, his radio show in 750 The Game down there in Portland, Oregon. His weekly appearance brought to you by Zeke's Pizza. Visit Zeke'sPizza.com. If you missed it, he had a little nugget in there. He told us that within the next 5 months, Ana Marie Cauce, the president of the University of Washington, is going to announce that she is stepping down. Many people have just come back to me and say, well, of course, look at her age. Well, it hasn't been anywhere else. So Ana Marie Cauce, who was pretty heavy-handed in the, whether you want to call it the destruction of the conference, she certainly wasn't the only one. All the presidents were to blame. But she was a heavy voice and a heavy figure behind the scenes, especially when it got down to those last few days in which most presidents thought that they had an agreement on a deal and were about to sign off on it. But minutes before they were set to meet, she informs Kirk Schultz at Washington State that they are leaving. Now, not to say that it's not the right decision for her in Washington, but she does have to acknowledge a significant role and part that she played in the dismantling of the conference. Again, not the only one, but her performance in it will outweigh other presidents for sure. And I don't know how Husky fans will view her. There is some good and there's some bad. Certainly, she was the president of the university when Jen Cohen was there, who was a very successful athletic director, who ended up hiring Kalen DeBoer. You get to the national championship game, and everything is great. But she's also the president of a university that lost Jen Cohen. She's the president of the university that ends up hiring an athletic director. And then that athletic director, within 5 months, is leaving and taking another job. And on your watch, one of the top coaches, if not the top coach in college football, bails on you. Who knows what's going to happen with the new basketball coach? It seems like a good hire, a great track record, and, of course, a connection to Washington. But I don't know. It's probably not for me to have the strongest opinion on how – I'm not a Husky fan. Like, how would Husky fans view Ana Marie Cauce? I view her differently because I think of her role in what happened with the conference. And certainly I'm biased towards that to a degree. But leave comments in the comment section below. How do you view Ana Marie Cauce as a president of the University of Washington? To me, she just seemed disconnected from the athletic department. And I think it was a concern. Maybe Jen Cohen eventually just wanted to go to California. But I think for that to happen, to go to Southern Cal on your watch is problematic. And then to have another athletic director leave on your watch so soon, I think is problematic there for Ana Marie Cauce. Speaking of the Cougs, they made the official hire last night. David Riley, if you're joining us, I think a few days ago here on the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD, I'd mentioned this is the guy that I wanted all along from Eastern Washington. I just hope it works out better than the last time we hired a coach from Eastern Washington, because I was on board with that hire as well, and that being Paul Wolf. So please, you know what you owe? You college sports gods, you owe us one. You owe us one from taking a guy from Eastern and let him be successful. But I'm kind of fired up by David Riley. It's because they've played him a few times, Eastern, over the years against Washington State. I like the way they play. They're fast, they're aggressive, they're physical. Offensively, they're diverse, and I think problematic in multiple. Oh boy, I use a lot of like big words, like I know what I'm talking about. I think the one downside to a degree with Kyle Smith, just a downside, and I think most Coug fans would acknowledge this. Defensively, they were great, fundamentally sound, and all that. Offensively, I think it took a while for Kyle Smith to find an identity offensively. And I still even think in this past year, there were too many stretches, I think, of play where I don't think I knew what they were doing or what they were trying to execute. And they were talented, so they were able to, get a bucket and rely on Jalen Wells or Rice or Clough or Isaac Jones down and low to get them a bucket. But I think there were times where I don't know if they took advantage of what they had offensively. And I think they could have been even more dynamic, I think, with Rice and Jones and Wells and Watson, those guys, even more than they were this past season. I'm excited about it. He's 35 years old. He was born in Seattle, grew up down in Palo Alto area, went to Whitworth. He was Big Sky Coach of the Year 2 years in a row. Now, the downside a little bit is he inherited a great program from Shante Legans, who went on to University of Portland. And so can he – now, he's not inheriting great players right now because he didn't have any. He got 10 players in the portal. So how will he adjust to that? His biggest thing is going to be the recruitment of, I think, one guy and one guy only, although I want some of the other ones to come with him. But the biggest thing that he could do here in the next 24, 48 hours is try to get Myles Rice to come back. Number one goal, get Myles Rice to come back and get out of the portal, because you got Rice in the portal, Yakimovsky in the portal. Oscar Clough, Chinyelu, all in the portal. But I would, you circle one, and it's obvious. You circle Myles Rice. Last night on Instagram, the IG Live, if you didn't see it, Isaiah Watts, and also he was more committal to, I'm coming back. I'm staying. Appears that Jalen Wells kind of echoed the same thing. So if they can get Watts and Wells to stay, maybe that would go a long way of maybe convincing Myles Rice to come back. Now, with that being said, you're going to get guys coming over from Eastern. It's going to happen. They've got some fantastic players, and they're big and they're physical. That's the thing that kind of stands out to me about some of these guys from Eastern. You got Lawan Watts, who's, forward/guard, 6'6", 230. He was a Big Sky freshman of the year. You look at him physically, he's bigger than anything that the Cougs have. Cedric Coward is a forward or wing, 6'6", 206. He was an all-conference first-team player. Junior forward Ethan Price, 6'10", 230. He looks all of 6'10", 230. And then Casey Jones, who's out of Sammamish, by the way, played, I think, at Eastlake and then ended up transferring to a school there in Utah. 6'6", 220. He was second team, all conference there in the Big Sky. So this always happens that a coach takes a job, and likely I would guess that David Riley's going to take some of those players with him. So, but good hire. I like to hire David Riley. I think it's good, and I'm super excited about it. Just please don't be Paul Wolf Part 2. All right, coming up later today at pucksports.com, and, of course, wherever you listen to it, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, we will have appearances from Ryan Divish. He's got a brand-new sponsor that will debut a little bit later today. Brad Adam from Root Sports, brought to you by John Howie Steak. They'll stop on by after the Mariners game. So we'll release those pods a little bit later in the evening. I want to say probably around 5-ish, so I can get out there and coach a little League Baseball. Coming up tomorrow, of course, 10 a.m., the release of the daily Puck Drop, the DPD. The debut of 2 shows concentrated all on football, and that would be Rob Staten of Seahawks Draft Blog, all brought to you by Superior Linen Service. Can't wait to talk to Rob. Draft is coming up April 25th. He's got you covered on all of it on his YouTube page. Just search Rob Staten. Read all of his work at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. He's got a great write-up on what the Seahawks should do right now in terms of, do they go heavy defensive line, offensive line? We're going to discuss that tomorrow on the show. So check that out when we drop that later tomorrow. And then Mike Garofolo is back, NFL Network. We'll go all over all the news and notes around the National Football League. His weekly appearance brought to you by Hartley and Hartley Insurance and Zogs on Fox Island. And then also quickly to tease, Friday. Divish is back on Friday. And then it is Chris Egan from King 5, brought to you by Fat Zach's Pizza. It has been so long since I've talked to Chris Egan. I can't wait to talk to him. Thank you for watching and listening. Another edition of the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. Like, subscribe, comment on the YouTube page. But subscribe, please. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you find your podcasts, and, of course, pucksports.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!